Hey, what's going on, guys? You're here. In today's video, we will continue working on the Travelex website. This is going to be part 3, so if you're just watching this video for the first time, make sure that you check out part 1 and part 2. I'll be placing a link in the description below. If you're new to the channel, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and turn on bell notifications. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video and found it useful, please give it a thumbs up. Now, let's jump right in. So in the last video, we left off after we finished the booking section. For this video, we will be working on the featured hotel section. So be sure you scroll all the way down to the file and then find the closing tag for the booking section right here. And once you do that, what you want to do is open up another section tag. And this section tag is just simply going to have the class of hotels. Then here, what we will do is reuse the div with the class of container. And inside of it, we will be creating an h5 with the class of section head. In here, what we want to do is have a span with the class of heading. And this simply will say explore. And then underneath it, we will have another span, and this one will have the class of subheading. And then it will say our beautiful hotels. And that's going to be enough for the heading. Let me just scroll all the way down so that we can see it right here. Now underneath of the h5, what I want to do is open up a div with the class of grid. And here we will have another div, this time with the class of grid item, and we will also add an additional class of featured hotels. And the reason why I'm doing two classes, it's because I'll keep reusing this grid and grid items later on, and then we will use the secondary class to manipulate them individually. Inside of this grid item, what I want to do is have an image for the hotel. So I'm simply just going to have the image tag, and I'm going to attach a class of hotel image. And for the source, we will simply just go inside of the images folder. And then we will find the Astro Hotel. This one will be Hotel Astro Resort. And then what we want to do is go underneath, and we will have an h5. This one will have the class of hotel name. And this one will be the Astra Hotel, as you could tell by the image. Then underneath of the h5, we will have a span with the class of hotel price. And this one will say from $200 a night. And then underneath of the span, we will have some additional information, which will be the rating. So for that, we will be using a div with the class of hotel rating. And then here, we just simply will have 5 icons, which will be exactly the same, and that will be the star. So let's have an eye, and we will apply the Font Awesome classes of FAS, as well as a secondary class of FA star. But we will also add another class of rating. And now if we scroll all the way to the bottom, we should see the star just like so. So what we will do now is simply just copy this and then paste it down below 4 more times, just like so. So now we have 5 stars. And what we want to do here for the last one is simply add a hyphen, and then we will say half because we want it to be half a star because the rating will be 4.5 stars. Again, we will be using this rating class right here just so that we can target them by this class instead, as opposed to using the font awesome classes when we style them later on. And then what I want to do is go underneath of the closing div for the hotel rating, and in here I'm going to have an anchor tag with the class of BTN and the secondary class of BTN gradient. Just like so. And it's not going to go anywhere, so I'll just use a hash. Then here again, what I'll just do is have the span. Well, before that we need some text. It's going to say book now. Then still within the anchor tag, I'm going to have the span with the class of dots. And then inside of it, I'm going to have the icon for the F with the class of FAS. The second class will be FA, ellipses, and then hyphen H. And that's just going to give us the dots right here. And as you can see, that's a class that we already used before on the previous sections. I should say the hero instead, and it's going to be a reusable class, which is why it's already looking really nice right here. So what we will be doing now is basically grabbing this grid item, and we will copy it and paste it down below 2 more times because we have 3 hotels. So let's do that right now, just like so. We will paste it down below. Let me just give it some additional spacing. And the only thing we have to do now is simply just modify the information. So for the second hotel, this one will be the Enchanted Garden. So let's make sure that we switch the image to Enchanted Garden. Then what we will do is simply change the text here as well to Enchanted Garden. And then we will change the pricing to be 300 a night. Then for the ratings, what we will do here is say that it's going to have a full 5-star rating. So let's get rid of this hyphen half. So now if we go back here, as you can see, it has the 5 stars. Now for the third hotel, this one will be the Paradise. So let's grab that image, Paradise, and then let's change the text as well. And then the pricing per night, which is going to be 350. And as far as the stars, it's going to be 3.5, so we can just keep it as it is. What we will be doing now is going inside of the CSS file so that we can style this even further. So join me in the CSS. Now that we are inside of the CSS file, before we continue, there's a few things that I want to do. And since we are reusing this button right here as well as this one, what I want to do is just go through the CSS so that we can grab those and move them here to the reusable styles. So the first one is going to be here in the hero section. So we are going to scroll all the way to the bottom to this section, and we'll grab the BTN classes along with the dots since we are reusing those. Then we will scroll all the way back up, and then we'll paste it here alongside the reusables. We also want to do the same thing for this purple one, so let's scroll all the way down to the bottom. Let's grab that, and now we can just go here to the reusables again, and I'm actually going to paste it on top of the dots. So now that we have that out of the way, we can go ahead and style this hotels section. So again, let's scroll all the way down to the bottom, and we'll start by creating a comment. So I'll say featured hotels, and then section styles, and then we'll just comment that out. The first thing that I want to do is style this section heading that we have right here. So let's do that. Let's grab the section head. What I want to do here is align the text to the center, and then I also want to apply a margin bottom to create some separation with this item. So margin bottom will be 5 rem. Then I want to style these headings individually, or in this case, the spans inside of the heading. So the span with the class of head, so right here with the class of heading, is going to have a font size of, let's say, 4 rem. Then what I want to do is make it a text so that it has a text transform of uppercase. And finally, actually what I'll do is just place it on top of the font size. I want to give it a display of block. And the reason for that is because span elements are inline by default. So if I give it a display of block, it will make it so that it takes all the available space, which means that the other item will automatically fall underneath it. Then I want to style the subheading. And this one is going to have a font size of 1.7 rem. It will also have a different font family. So let's take care of that. It's going to be the font family of Coquette, and then the fallback will be cursive. I also want to make this heading to be lighter. So the font weight will be of 300. And then for the color, which will be a gray, we can just reuse that A5, A5, A5. And that's going to be all for the section heading. What I want to do now is style the grid, because if we make it bigger, you see that it's all underneath. And what I want to do is create a grid that will automatically wrap based on the space. So in other words, it's going to be responsive right out the box. So for that, let's select the grid. And we'll say that the display will be of grid. Now this is where the magic happens. We want to say that the grid template columns, we want to repeat it. So we'll use the repeat function. And inside of them, we can say that we want it to auto fit. Then we will use the min max function. And then here we can set a minimum width, which will be 30 rem. And then we'll set a maximum to be 1 FR. So this means that the smallest it will be, in this case when it's like a bigger screen, it's going to be 30 rem. And then when it can no longer fit 2 or 3 side by side, it will be taking all of the available space that it can, as you can see right here. And if I make it bigger, you're going to see that they're now all side by side. But it doesn't quite look right. Let's take care of that. So let's go back, and actually something else that I want to do here is apply a grid gap. So that's just going to give us some spacing in between the grid items. So that's going to be 2.5 rem. And for the time being, we can't really see it. It should be grid gap. Just like so. For the time being, we can only see this grid gap right here, but we can't see it on the right because we still have to fix the images. So let's take care of that. So we will say that the grid item, it will have a display of flex. And then that's going to automatically fix this issue we had. Well, not necessarily. That's because by default, flex items are going to be a row. So we have to make sure that we set the flex direction to be of column. So now if we make it bigger, you see that everything looks already much better and we get the spacings that we want. So to style this even further, what I'm going to say is that I want to align the items here on the center, and since it now has a display of a flex direction of column, to align this on the x-axis, what you want to do is use align items, and that's going to take care of it. What I want to do next is target the featured hotels. So this is the the grid items class that we will reuse in the styles throughout every single grid that we use. And then, as I mentioned, I had an additional class of featured hotels so that I can manipulate the styles that each individual grid item has, because later on when I reuse this, it's going to be slightly different. So here, what I want to do is that I want to set a height of 35 rem so that I want to make this smaller. So height is going to be 35 rem. Then I want to say that the color of the text inside of it is going to be white. What I want to say next is that I also want to give it some padding. So the padding is going to be 1 rem all around. Then I want to say that the position is going to be relative. And that's because I will be using the before and after pseudo elements to kind of create an overlay here on the images themselves. So what I'll do now is target the featured hotels, and then before. Now I'm going to set the content, and then the position is going to be of absolute. Starting top position will be 0, left as well, and then I'm going to set the width to be 100% and the height 100% as well. Now I'm going to use the purple transparent alt variable for the background that we had. So background color, then the variable, and then I'll just simply say purple transparent alt. And then what I want to do is basically set a C index, because as you can see right now, we're having some issues right here. And then we can't see the text at all. So what we can do is just the same trick that we used last time. So we're going to be setting the C index to be of -1, which will make it so that it falls behind the image we have right here. But we can fix that by going back to the parent and setting a C index of 0. So that's going to take care of it. The only issue that we have right now is that we also have to adjust the images that we have right here. So to take care of that, that's going to be pretty simple. What we can do is simply just say that we want to target the hotel image, and this will take 100% of the width of its parent. I also want to make sure that I add the height, because I will be using object fit of cover here. And now it looks perfect. I also want to make sure that I set a position of absolute. Again, because I want to manipulate it even further so that I can have the text and all the other data sitting on top of it. So again, the starting top position will be set to 0. The left will be 0 as well. And then the Z index is going to be -1. And since right here this parent already has the -1, the C index of 0, and won't fall back. But we also have another issue here because the image is now on top of the overlay. So again, what we can do is just simply set this to -2, and that fixes it. The other issue that we have is basically separating this styles that we have right here. But for now, we don't have to worry about it. So let's make sure that we style this, and later on we can put it here in the middle. Actually, let's just take care of that right now because it's going to be pretty simple. Let's just go back to the grid item, and then we just simply say justify content will be here in the center. And I know I should have done this like when I did this as well, but I just wanted to show you guys how this was working. So let's go back, and then here underneath of the hotel image, what I want to do is target the hotel name. And that's just simply going to have a font size of 2.6 rem. Then I want to target the hotel price. And again, it's just going to be the font size, which will be 1.8 rem. The next thing that I want to target is the rating. And in here, what I want to do is just simply play around with the margins. So the margin at the top is going to be at the top is going to be 1 rem, 0 left and right, and then 2.5 rem for the bottom, just like so. Now what we will do is target the rating, and we want to make the stars yellow. So let's do that. So this one had the class of rating, and we simply will just use the variable of solid yellow, just like so. And as you can see, we have now finished this section, and if we go back to the desktop view, you can already see that it's fully responsive. So let me show you how that's working. So if I make this smaller, you'll see that everything just keeps adapting, because the way I did it with the grid, it's already responsive right out of the box, and you don't need any media queries whatsoever. So now that we have finished this section, we will continue with the other section, which is going to be for the special offer. So join me in the HTML. Now that we are back inside of the HTML, what we will do is continue working in the next section. So this section is going to be for the special offer. What you want to do now is locate the closing section tag for the hotels. So once you do that, you're going to go underneath and you want to open up another section, this time with the class offer. Again, we will use the div with the class of container. And inside of it, we will have a div with the class of offer content. Then in here, what I want to do is have another div, this time with the class of discount. And then we will just simply place some text inside of it, which will be 40% off. And that should be with only 2 Fs. Now underneath of the discount div, I want to have an H5. And this H5 will have the class of hotel name, which is something that we used before. So we'll be reusing that. And this one will simply just be the Paradise, because that's the hotel that's going to have the special offer. Then underneath of this H5, I'm going to have again a div with the class of hotel ratings. And then inside of it, we will have the icon with the stars. So for that, we'll use the font awesome class of FAS, which we used before. So actually, as opposed to typing it ourselves, I think it would have been a lot easier if we just simply grabbed this HTML right here, and then we just go ahead and delete this div with the class of hotel ratings and just paste in the one that we had before right here, because it's going to be exactly the same. So we might as well just save that time. And just like so, as you can see, it's already looking a lot better. And since it's something that we are reusing, you can see that it already has the styles that we want applied to them, which means that when we go inside of the CSS, the styling is going to be minimal. Now, underneath of this hotel rating div, I want to have a p tag. And this p tag, it's going to have the class of paragraph. And I know these names, they're not the best, but for this example, it just gets the job done. So then we'll just have some dummy text inside of it. And let me actually cut this up a little bit, because right now it's just way too much text. So let me just say that maybe right here. just like so. I think that looks good for now. If we have to add more in, we will do so, and if we have to remove some more, we will do so later. Now, underneath the p tag, we will use again the button. Since we already did it before right here, let's just copy it once more and paste it right here. And yeah, I know like it's kind of lazy to just keep copy and pasting, but that's also part of being a developer, because if you already coded something before, you might as well just grab it from that area and then paste it where you need it, because it's going to save you a lot more time as opposed to just doing it over and over again. And with that out of the way, that's going to be pretty much it for the HTML markup. The only small thing we have to do here is just change the text that this button has. So this one will simply just say redeem offer, just like so. So now that we're done with the HTML markup for this section, please make sure that you join me within the CSS file. Now that we are inside of the style sheet, let's continue by scrolling all the way down to the previous section we worked on. So here, let's create another comment. This one is going to be for the special offer section styles. And then underneath it, what we will do is target the section with the class of offer. So we'll say offer, and what we want to do is set a background image for this particular section, but we also want to set an overlay, which will be the transparent gradient that we will be creating. So let's start by using the shorthand background property, and then we will apply a linear gradient, which will have the following values. So the direction is going to be to right, and then the colors, the first one is going to be an RGBA, and this will be of 250, then 158, and then 44, and the transparency is going to be 0.8. Then we want to have another RGBA color, and this one will have the following values of 143, then it's going to be 80, and then 251, and again the transparency is going to be of 0.8. So what we want to do now is just simply separate this right here with a comma. Let me actually just go underneath on the other line, and what I want to do is set the URL for the background image that we want to set. So in this case, we want to go inside of the images folder, and we want to grab the Paradise BG, just like so. And then the position is going to be at the bottom, and then bottom center, and then I want the no repeat, the background repeat property to be of no repeat. So let me just push this over a little bit, just like so. And the next thing that I want to do is make the background size of the image to be of cover. So background size will be cover. And just like so, you can see that it already looks a lot better. What I want to do now is go underneath of this rule, and I'm going to target the offer content div. What I want to do here is set the background color to be of white. What I want to do next is text align everything to the center. Then I want to say that I want to give it a padding of something like 5 rem top and bottom, so that I get more space here to work with, just like so. And then in the left and right, I'll do something small like 1 rem. As you can see, it already looks a lot better. What I want to do next is style the div that we had right here with the percentage off. So this is going to be pretty simple. Let's just target the discount. And this is going to have a background color of the yellow variable. So background color, Then this will be solid yellow, just like so. And as you can see, for now, it's by default, divs are block elements, so they're going to take 100% of the available width. What I want to do here is give it the position of absolute, which is going to make it so that it floats, and then it's only going to take up whatever space it needs, in this case, just enough to cover this text. So let's do that right now. Position is going to be of absolute. And just like so, you see that it only takes up the available, the necessary width that it needs. Since we gave it the position of absolute, it means that we can move it around freely now. So we can set it to the top. And then the left is going to be 0. What I want to do here is actually give it the... something else that I forgot to do is because I want to set this discount absolutely relative to this section content that we have right here. But notice that we can't see it, and I just caught that. That's because I forgot to give this offer content rule the position of relative. And now it should be back, just like so as here on the top corner. Then what I want to do is say that I want to give it some padding just so that this text is not so close to this, to the edges here. So for the padding, I'm just going to give it one rem all around, and that looks already a lot better. I also want to text transform to uppercase, and then I want to create some sort of a border. But for that, I'm not going to use the border. I will use an outline instead. And that's going to be 2 pixels. And then I can say it's going to be solid, and then for that I can just use the yellow that we had before, so we'll just use the bar, and then solid yellow, just like so. For now you can't see it well, but we're going to be taking care of that in a moment. Then what I want to do here is basically give it an offset. So the outline offset is going to be 0.5 rem, just like so. So now you see that the border that we created with the outline, it's kind of overlapping. But the thing is that I only want this right side and the bottom side to be visible. But as you can see here, everything on all sides is visible. And the easiest way to get to take care of that is by going back to the offer content, and I'm going to set an overflow of hidden, and that's going to hide the overflow that we had, and now it looks just like the demo. The next step that I want to do is go underneath so that we can style this paragraph that we have. So let's take care of that right now. And this will be pretty simple. I'm just going to use that grayish color again, which is going to be A5, A5, A5. And then I want to give it a margin bottom of 2.5 rem just so that I can create some additional separation with this button. So 2.5 rem, just like so. And this is going to be pretty much it for this section. As I mentioned, we used some of the styles that we used here on the previous section, which means that these styles for this section are going to be minimal. Something else that I want to do is actually make this bold so that it stands out a little bit more. So I'll just do it here next to the other text rules. So font weight, and I'm going to make it bold, just like so. So yeah, this is going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, please make sure you leave a comment down below. I'll try to get back to you. If you enjoyed the video and found it useful, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're still thinking about subscribing, hit that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications. I'll catch you in the next one.